We got to wait for my 360 to warm up, people. Sorry. It's going to take another...
I didn't even hear what you said. I was focusing on it coming up.
Another 5 seconds. 3.
Hey, everyone.
2, 1.
And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hairloss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Okay, we got some crack operation going here. Start the stream. My 360's not even plugged in.
Small army producers we got working for us. On top of things, yo.
Unbelievable. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and tuning in. If you're watching us on Joe Tillman's YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/hair transplant mentor, or also known as the Hair Transplant channel, please take the time to like this video. Please.
Did you say theyoutube.com?
No, I didn't. And if I did, I'm pretty sure most people would figure it out that it's just some old dude trying to give out a YouTube URL.
An old guy giving out a domain name. I love it.
Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. I'm not shorter, Joe. I just changed my camera angle slightly. I'm noticing that maybe I gave myself too much headroom. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's probably good for Reels on Instagram, which I have to start doing more of. And I'll tell you why. We did an episode of the UK... we did an episode of the UK broadcast today. Got a call from a mother of a 17-year-old kid who is obsessed with hair transplant surgery. Now, this kid was put on Accutane. He's dealing with some hair loss, but nothing that's really that visible except for the shedding. And he is now convinced by social media, by TikTok, maybe Instagram as well, that hair transplant surgery in Turkey is the way to go. And there's a Turkish clinic that has 4.3 million followers, apparently, and is verified that all these influencers are going to, with the big thumbs up and how happy they are about their fucking hair transplants and the before and after shit. I don't know if people are dancing around. I didn't actually check out this page. I was busy today. And this kid goes to his mom. And we're not talking about a kid. His mom really explained things well to us, to Specs and myself. This is a very disciplined kid. He's a bodybuilder. He's like a top-level boxer, and I think he was a tennis player. Maybe it was tennis. I forgot. Maybe it was another sport. And, really into his fitness and his health and his looks. Follows all these bodybuilders and all these... Can you hear me? I just heard a weird click in my... Follows all these bodybuilders and influencers on TikTok. And everyone is talking about hair transplant surgery. Now, that is great that the younger group of people really get information. They really know... Hold on 1 second. I'm going to put the camera on you, Joe. Sorry.
Are you still going to talk? Well, he didn't tell me he wasn't going to talk. So
sorry. I had to. I was being distracted. It was a nice distraction, but I was being distracted, and
tell your office assistant put her clothes back on.
I lost my train of thought. She has her clothes on. Still distracted.
Well. It happens.
So let me give out the phone number, 888-659-3727, get back to my story. So long story short, this person is now convinced that he is a candidate for a hair transplant, but he has to wait till he's 18. Or he said he'll wait till he's 18. He's 17 now. Because the clinic gave him an assessment, a graft count, and a price.
Oh yeah.
The guy has no visible or discernible hair loss. He's 17. He's just starting to shed. He's seeing like 200 hairs during a day, and he's freaking the fuck out.
Okay.
So I think it illustrates and really underscores just how fucked up things have gotten. And I don't care what's happening in Panama right now and the bullshit Fight the Fight campaign and all the stuff that we read about and communicate, try to communicate through our chat groups, industry chat groups. The good guys in the industry are failing these patients. The good guys in the industry, and there are only a few, sadly, are failing people who are in need of this space in this field. And the reason they're failing them is because they will not come together with a strong online message, not a campaign, not a bullshit fight to fight, but really provide information, education, and guidance so that these young consumers, and it's growing exponentially, have a fucking fighting chance to find us, to find the content that we create, to find the content that's created through the Bald Truth UK, and soon to find the content of American Hair Loss Association trusted content creators. They have failed these kids, and they failed themselves, they failed the field, and no matter what they fucking say, no matter how they are saying, oh yeah, fight the fight's bullshit, in some of our chat groups, what are you doing? What are you doing to help fight the ISHRS's bullshit, but also to help these patients? Not a fucking thing. Unless you get leads, you don't give a fuck. I'm drinking wine out of my GFQ glass.
Cheers.
So, I have to tell you, when I hear this story, it inspires me. It depresses me. It motivates me. It makes me bang my head against the wall thinking, why am I still doing this shit? And I really have to do this. And even if we reach 1,000 people today or 2,000 people today with all the different feeds, whatever, or 5,000 people, at least we're going to help them. This mother was so grateful that she found us and that she was able to call into the UK show. And that she has something to show her 17-year-old kid, because this woman is 55 years old and she's like, my kid doesn't think I know shit.
Yeah, he thinks I'm being just a worried mother.
Yeah.
Just hassling him. Yeah. Telling him what he wants to hear.
Yeah. So the mother provides him with some shampoo. I think Speck sent him some Grow MD or something. And the kid's like, I tried the shampoo, it's not working. One day. Now, no one's saying that the shampoo is going to stop your hair loss or make your hair grow. It's just a good shampoo. He wanted to help to provide, maybe this kid will get a better cosmetic effect and stop thinking about it as much. And that's what most of these shampoos do. So anyway, that is the current environment. Hair transplant surgeons, all of you guys who are out in Panama right now, or who are watching this broadcast, or whatever, who find some of our clips and pass them around because Kobren is dropping F-bombs. You are failing your field and those who depend on you. And it just disgusts me. Spoke to an old timer. I got him on the phone. He happened to be in Panama. He's working with this person who I would like to have at Global Hair Loss Summit. And I'm listening to his voice, and I'm thinking, how is this? I was talking to this guy 20 years ago about all the shit that was happening in the field 20 years ago. And he was like, yeah, you're right, Spencer. Thank goodness you're here. We need a consumer advocate. And he was all fine and dandy with their work while he was getting leads, or at least, whatever. He was highly attached to the broadcast or to my books. And as soon as this guy felt that I was not concentrating on his practice or whatever he felt, it was like, yeah, not sure if we support your message anymore.
Typical.
Anyway, I'm frustrated. I always am. I come out on the program and I speak like this because, when you hear the angst in this mother's voice, and she's a smart lady. I mean, she really wants to help this kid. She's not like, well, what can we do? We'll pay for a hair transplant. Who the best doctor is? She knows because she's done her research and she found us that this is not right for her kid, and she has to somehow talk her kid out of having surgery. It's totally fucked up, man.
It's an odd coincidence because I actually got an email just an hour ago from someone who heard me when I was on with Mr. Rolandis the other day, of all places, and he has a very similar story. He's not a 17-year-old that's hampered by age requirements, but a friend of his suggested a particular clinic in Turkey, and so he decided to do his research, and he contacted a second clinic just for a second opinion, and decided to go with the first clinic because they were cheaper. And then he finds online resources such as trusted content creator Mr. Rolandis, and then me, and now he realizes that his concerns are not just valid, but they're reinforced by everything that we do. And he sent me an encyclopedia of images. Like, this is like there's so many images he sent me of his entire progress. This is the kind of guy where he's got the Jude Law look, where he didn't need a hair transplant because his temple recession actually suited him very nicely. Like,
yeah. Some guys just have the jawline and the facial structure and the balance.
Exactly. And now he's got that typical, really strange curvature of the temple down into the temple point that doesn't exist in nature. Multi-hair grafts everywhere. They're all sticking out like this, all in the same direction from the plane of the scalp, which is also very unnatural. I've not had a chance to respond to him yet because it's just an hour ago, but it's the same situation where, hey,
listen,
the cheapest clinic wins.
There's no getting around it. What we're going to be seeing in the next 5 years, or 3 years. I mean, the damage of these guys, especially when they continue to lose their hair. These people are fucked, man. And when I see here in Los Angeles, in Beverly Hills, in Century City, in Westwood, people walking their fucking dogs, I can see their donor depletion from like in my fucking car. So many people are having hair transplants, and the people that are in the more affluent communities here in Los Angeles, these people seem to be going to Turkey too.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it all over. And the SMP, forget about it, man. The SMP that I see here in LA, I went to the mall the other day. This kid literally looked like he had a blue helmet on his head.
I hate to laugh, but it's true.
Think about anybody.
Local Facebook ads, local eyelash places decide to offer SMP, and Jesus. what they have in their ads is like a blue helmet.
Yeah.
As if it looks good.
I've seen what some people, what they had in their Facebook ads or Instagram ads that looked like, pretty significant, distinct dots. Maybe not a blue helmet. And if you shave down your hair, even when my hair was dark, if I shaved it all the way basically to the skin, to a 1 guard or less, the hair is light. Even if you have dark hair, it creates just essentially a shadow. Not a dark shadow. Not a distinct shadow. Look at G.I. Jane when she shaved her head. Look at that shadow. That is what, even that's a person with a full head of hair that shaved their head. That is a distinct shadow. And that was probably a 1 guard, maybe a 2.
Yeah.
These people are not creating what should be what people see in nature. And they've created this new normal. And I have to tell you, at least 50% of the SMP guys that I see online, the guys that are performing SMP, the guys whose pictures are with their clients, their SMP looks like shit. It's
50%?
fucking crazy.
I think it's more like 90%.
All right. Well, I'm trying to give some of these guys a benefit of the doubt. There are some good practitioners out there that are doing really elegant, light, conservative
100%.
work.
100%. But in my opinion, 90% of them are. They should just shut down shop, close up.
Well, I had a nice conversation with a young
doing everyone a
SMP guy, and he was very open to me being honest, and I appreciated that. We did it live on his Instagram. And I told him, man, I said, really, I suggested that he start to offer trichopigmentation. I said the worst case scenario is that you have people continuing to come back to get touch-ups. That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, everybody you treat, they can get out of this fucking thing if they want to. In time. It's going to fade. And so when I brought up the business aspect to this kid, I think he thought, like, wait, that's not a bad idea. I mean, I can get people to come back in, and it may be a safer long-term choice for them. Now, just to let you know, this guy, I forget his name. It's terrible. I'm getting old. His work looks really good. He looks like he really cares, and he's training people. But it doesn't mean the people he's trained, just like these great doctors, are going to be able to do it as well as he can.
Of course.
That's the fucking problem. All right, guys, let's take a phone call. I've been jammering on enough. But all I can say is, guys, if you're listening to this program, doctors, if you're listening to this show and you're arguing in these chat groups about why this is happening, what people should be doing, and only doctors should be doing, hair transplants and all this shit, you guys are focusing on the wrong fucking crap. You're focusing on the wrong fight.
Agreed 100%. Can you
Okay.
check my audio volume, my levels? Because a couple people in the chat room saying that my audio is lower than yours.
It normally is because of your fucking setup. But let me see.
How's this? Is that better? Check 1 2. Check.
It is better, but I'll bring it up on my side. Go ahead, Joe. Speak.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. This is the Bald Truth with Spencer Kobren and Joe Tillman.
Yeah. Otherwise, if I bring you any higher for whatever reason, you clip. But that's good.
Okay.
So everyone in the chat room should be happy. But yeah,
Well, we hope so.
The recording of this is going to be fine. Your levels are just fine, Joe. Maybe slightly lower than mine. But I have a booming voice. I'm just kidding.
You really do.
Yeah. All right, guys, phone number 888-659-3727. But doctors who are listening to this, guys, you're fighting the wrong fight. You're having the wrong arguments, the wrong discussions. If we just had 200 doctors coming together with the same exact message, and it's not just coming from you. You can't tell these patients what to do and what not to do. Just say, look, if you're considering hair transplant surgery, check out this content, and then come back to us. It would change the game. Even trying to get the Global Hair Loss Summit out there by doctors who are actually working with the Global Hair Loss Summit is almost fucking impossible. You ask them to share a piece of content or a promo, and they can't fucking figure it out. Or they just choose not to do it because it may have another doctor's face in it.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's choice. Short-term concerns
All these fucking
to
guys,
sacrifice
man.
long-term gains.
All these fucking guys. I would say that the younger guys, the newer generation of hair transplant surgeons, they're starting to come to the table and they get it. And they really want to participate. But some of the old school guys that are, taking off their Panamanian hats and saying that they're from, wherever they're from. These fucking guys, man. I mean, these are the old school forum guys. They are hanging out in places where old hair transplant surgeons go to die. Their whole online presence, everything. I'd like to change some of their minds, and some of them, have evolved, and they're with the program. But God, this industry is just getting more fucked up by the day. 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
It's Morty from Brooklyn.
Morty, are you calling us live from Panama?
Nah, man, I wouldn't be caught dead in Panama. Oh, not for that particular event. Absolutely not.
Dude,
Good
why
man.
not? You can you can learn from that event. Here's the thing. There are people out there that are very, let's just say, critical, maybe a little bit prejudiced. And I understand the ISHRS has this bizarre ideology and this, groupthink mentality and this political aspect to what they do. And in my view, they've really fucked up this field in a way that is irredeemable. But you can still learn a lot from seeing these physicians, especially larger conferences, kind of do their thing, talk to them in the hallways. If you can get into one of the talks, which, by the way, I was never allowed to go to any scientific talk in the ISHRS conferences. Yes. I basically would get a hallway pass.
Yeah, me too.
That's so stupid. That's insane. I mean, well, just because don't get me wrong, it's hard to become a doctor. There's no question about it. But just because you're not a doctor doesn't mean
No, Morty, that would be too simple. It's not because I'm not a doctor. It's because Spencer Kobren is the enemy of the state, according to them.
Oh, brother.
Do you know that every major organization in this industry is now wanting to work with or be sanctioned by the American Hair Loss Association, be it FUE Europe, WFI. There's an Asian organization that just reached out to us. Dermatology Times wants to work with us.
Yeah, I saw the article.
But the last bastion, the last holdout, is the organization that, in my view, has done the most damage and continues to do the most damage to this field and to the consumers who depend on it. How crazy is that?
Yeah. I think
it's crazy if you don't take into account the fact that everything they've done over the past 10 years has been an act of self-preservation.
Yes.
Yes. That's exactly where I was going.
That's the only focus that they have is self-preservation.
Yeah.
Everyone else that has come forward to try and work with American Hair Loss Association, their core mission is to expand their own membership. It is to expand the number of people coming in for training. It is to expand their outreach to.
But to me, that is self-preservation.
To better the field.
To me, that is self-preservation. I would say these are just These are just people who are concerned about controlling and creating and controlling the monopoly of knowledge and education, and also somehow, create a monopoly, which they don't have, of consumer attention.
Yeah,
they certainly don't have anything on that.
Let Morty talk.
Go ahead, Morty.
What I was going to say is it certainly sounds like that's what Fight the Fight is about. It's about who are they really fighting, right? They're fighting the non-members of the IAHRS. That's pretty much who they're really fighting against. They're not fighting against, and they could talk about, we're fighting against people who use technicians for one or another aspect of the surgery. Whereas, in some respects, some of these delineations of the particular activity that the tech is doing is just arbitrary. You know, I was just reading. A tech can make an incision into the donor area, but can't make an incision into the recipient area. A tech can pull out a graft from the donor area, but can't place it.
Well, here's the reality: is a tech really can't make an incision in the donor area. But the standard of care, and back in the day when it was a smaller industry, some of the grandfathers, some of the grandpoobahs like Bobby Limmer and David Seeger, their techs did all the work as far as after the strip was removed and sutured. The strippers handed off, and technicians did 100% of the work after that, including stick in place, making incisions, and creating the angles for grafts. For years.
The doctor only took out the strip. That was it.
The doctor took out the strip and walked away and came back and observed. That was it.
And they would be doing 5 to 6 strip surgeries in one day.
Yeah. And no one gave a shit. These guys got fucking awards. And that's fine. They were actually churning out some excellent work, and their staff was incredible. They weren't harming people.
But now they're changing the rules with Fight the Fight. In some respects, it's arbitrary, the changes that they're making. And at the end of the day, the only thing a consumer really cares about is an end result. You want to know that when you're going to get done with this, that you're going to look okay. You know, at the end of the day, how it gets done isn't all that important. For me, anyway.
Well, you're right, but they're focusing on some sort of legality, and they're trying to get legislation passed and all this stuff. And I have to laugh because all of these motherfuckers have been flying under the radar for 30 years.
Yep.
That's it. Listen, there's a standard of care, and the standard of care is and was created if you want to do large sessions of hair transplant. Moving large numbers of grafts, you need skilled technicians or skilled staff, whether they're nurses or whatever. That's the only way that this could be done. Hair transplant surgery is, as Alan Bauman always says, it's a symphony of people, and I can't explain it as well as he did, articulate. I forgot what he said, but it takes a lot of people who are skilled at what they do to really execute a fantastic hair transplant. So, who did these doctors decide to use? They decided to use MAs, medical assistants. Now, if you look at the scope of practice of a medical assistant, I don't know if it states anywhere in the country, or at least in North America, or anywhere in Europe, that they could actually be implanting live organs into people's heads. But with that said, this is the standard of care in the industry. So, if the state medical boards would come to us, to the American Hairloss Association or the IHRS, and ask us what the standard of care is, we've never made a position statement. We would provide them what the standard of care has been for the last 30 years. And trust me, this Fight the Fight campaign could never have gotten off the ground. But the problem is it opens up a can of worms that, they opened up a can of worms that I fear is going to interfere with the practices of some of the really great practitioners and clinics.
Oh, I believe it.
So I need to kind of step back and kind of watch things and not get as involved with the state medical boards and stuff like that because they've already put themselves in a precarious position that could fuck themselves up. And frankly, if they fuck themselves up, the good guys, they're fucking every patient up because there'll be nowhere for anybody to go.
And to a certain extent, a lot of that's kind of already happening. I can speak as somebody who had a hair transplant. I remember how the different players operated. I didn't really know who was what in terms of what particular kind of sheepskin they had. But I got to tell you, they were, Cole was making, he was making the incisions. Another person was coming behind, pulling them out, handing it off to another person who was putting them under the microscope. Another person, and then Cole was coming around doing the sites, and then another person was coming around taking the stuff off the microscopes and putting it in containers and placing it in there, and it was all very well orchestrated. Nobody was bumping into each other. Everybody knew what their roles were, and everybody was moving around like they were. It was like a football huddle with me in the middle.
Yeah. Why do you think Ray Woods turned into an old lesbian by the time he was 50? Because he did all the work himself. You know how tiring that is?
Sure.
I'm just kidding, Ray. I'm just kidding.
But
what's so funny, Joe?
Oh God, it gets me every time.
I mean, that's just,
I mean, come on. He turned into a slightly overweight Billie Jean King by the time he was 50 years old because all he did was hustle all day. I mean, this guy was dedicated to his patients.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure his diet wasn't great.
You know, that'll do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is that the market's gotten away from them as it is. I mean, just today I was on Hair Loss Conquerors, and there's this dude comes on, and he's pissed because he did 6 months worth of research on and research, of course, means the Instagrams. Finds some clinic in Tijuana, lays down $500 deposit, and basically, complains because like the day before the surgery, he gets an email from them saying that the doctor can't do the surgery, that it's going to be a replacement doctor.
Yeah.
And lucky for him, he backed out, okay, and he's pissed. And I wrote back to him. I said, consider yourself lucky because, you lost $500, but you weren't butchered, And by the way, go to the IAHRS and take a look for doctors there. And then he says, how is it that I'm lucky? I'm out $500, and I can't find any clinic in the United States or Mexico who's willing to meet my price of $2.50 per graft.
Jesus. You explained to him that, you know what? You're lucky because of your fucking attitude, and you shouldn't have a hair transplant because you're not a goddamn candidate. That's it.
That's a good answer. Yep.
Because that $500, those $250, that $250 graft that he spends, he'll be spending 100 times more.
Oh, yeah.
That's an exaggeration, but a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Just to hopefully repair himself so he looks normal one day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I used to say, is the cheap hair transplant that you find will wind up being the most expensive one you could ever imagine.
Oh yeah, I mean Specs talks about it all the time. What did he drop? $50,000 on his hair?
Dude, he had 4 bad surgeries.
Yeah.
Joe only had 2. I don't know whose head is thicker.
I lost more hair though.
You did lose more hair, so you looked more fucked up for a while. But he was stuck under a wig for a while. It was a whole thing, man.
I believe it. Anyway, so that's kind of what's going on. I'm doing okay. Just kind of living life now. I didn't call last few weeks because I've been dealing with personal issues, but I wanted to call to let you guys know that I'm still thinking of you and loving you guys with all my heart, and thankful every day that I know you guys and that you guys aim to be in the right direction.
Well, Morty, don't make me cry, yeah. Don't make me cry.
Sorry you're having some issues though, so I hope you get through those well. Safe and everyone involved.
And everything. I appreciate that, Joe. I really do. But yeah, that's kind of where things are. Cole's in town, so I'm going to go meet up with him for dinner. And yeah, other than that, life is good.
Well, tell him to say hi and tell him that we need his Global Hair Loss Summit title. ASAP.
You need his Global Hair Loss Summit title?
His talk title.
So you need him to tell you the title of his talk.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll mention it.
Yes.
Sure.
Like, Jesus Christ already. He's the last one to get us the talk title.
Geez, please. All right, I'll mention it because I'm going to see him. Take it easy, fellas.
Take care. Enjoy yourself. Bye-bye.
Good hearing from you, buddy.
888-659-3727. I have a feeling this show, some segments of this show are going to be passed around Panama.
You think?
I think so, man.
I bet there are a few watching it right now.
888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Oh, man, now all the lights are lit. I forgot who was first. Let's try this one. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Dude, your connection's fucked up. Who's this?
It is me from Kazakhstan.
Dude, I can't hear you. You're the guy from Kazakhstan.
From Kazakhstan.
Yeah, but dude, you got a real phone or what?
It's me from Kazakhstan.
Oh, hey, okay. What's happening, man? Okay, that's better.
You got a real phone.
Yeah, it's from
how you doing, May?
Of the world. Doing good. I was busy. I was talking to a bunch of doctors. I was talking to Dr. Arika Bonzal and Dr. Bisher because you said to do me so. And I also talked to Dr. Sikas and Dr. Mersano, if I pronounce it correctly.
And are you more confused than ever?
I am more confused than ever. Sometimes I fall to paranoia, bouncing from option to option. But after the last conversation with Dr. Mersano, maybe now I have some view, some prospect.
I tell you, he's a serious dude who does not hold back, man.
I love him. He's fantastic.
He is a straight shooter.
Straight shooter.
Yeah.
Whatever it means. So I can say
that means that this guy does not that means that this guy tells it like it is. He tells the truth. Whatever's on his mind is on his tongue.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, I just switched. Well, a couple things, a couple thoughts, if you don't mind. So, Dr. Bisher, she does not promote FUT much. I asked her about FUT. She said, I can do it, and it would be very easy to me. But the big scar, you should bear in mind the big scar that you will have. And I asked her about any advantages of FUT, and she said not many advantages. And I asked her about average time out of about graft survival, and she told me not the level of graft survival is not higher much compared to FUE. So it is my feeling that she does not promote FUT much. It is her choice, no problem about that, but just to let you know. And you also have to know that she is booked. Her booking is filled up to December 2023.
That's great. I got to raise her rent.
I guess she find that optimum combination of price and quality. She charged 2.5 euros for graft and many things that she's good. That's why I don't know why she don't rise her rate. Maybe she will rise it for in the future.
It's possible she'll raise it, but
demand.
She may not. She's booked so far out, she may not need to raise it, and it really depends on her overhead, her lifestyle, what she feels is fair. What the what the perfect, like you said, the perfect combination of price and her skill set and her upcoming her recent notoriety. I mean, I do know doctors who kind of become as popular as she has in the short period of time. Even though she's been in the field for a long time, she's really just recently become as popular as she is. And these doctors will raise their rates right away. And sometimes that's a mistake.
Yeah.
And they will also not only raise their rates, but all of a sudden they will have associates working under them, and they will be charging less for their associates. And that happens quickly sometimes.
It's like eugenics.
And that happens quickly sometimes in this industry. I'm not a fan of that. I mean, listen, we promote Dr. Setti and Dr. Bonzal, and they are both members of the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. As a matter of fact, they're co-directors of this year's Global Hair Loss Summit. But I have no clue what their other doctors are doing. I mean, I can only assume that their name is on the door. So they want to make sure that the physicians that they are training are doing good work. But when people ask me what they would do or about their other physicians, I'm like, they never applied to the organization. I have no fucking clue. And if it were me, without that clue, without that information, I wouldn't do it. So I'm sorry I just went on a tangent.
Because you hate.
Go ahead.
Because you hate forums. So I go to through forums, and we see some, how to say, hair restoration results posted by patients, and there are some threads or how to say topics dedicated to those associate doctors.
Mm-hmm.
They have at least 2 associate doctors.
Now, do you know, just so you know, and this doesn't, I'm sure their doctors are doing great work, but do you know the number of patients who are posting in forums that in sections of hair transplants, or information provided by hair transplant patients or whatever that section is, they're asked by these clinics, or they're given discounts by these clinics, or a lot of these people just aren't doing it on their own fruition. You have to understand that. So a lot of times you're going to see the best of the best. That's just the way that it is. Now, with that said, it doesn't mean that these guys are doing bad work at all. They may be doing great work. They may be doing better work than their bosses. But unless we know that for sure, we can't recommend them in any way. Or I shouldn't say we can't accept them into the organization unless we know for sure.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about conversation with Dr. Arika Bonzal. I had Skype conversation with her too.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, they provided me with a free consultation. So it is said that you have to pay for this, but they provided me free consultation.
It's great. And she's a lovely person too.
She's a very lovely person. She talks good. And every time I reaching them to have conversation, I always was referring to you guys. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
That's why they provided me free. Yeah. It's nice, but maybe it's not so good. I don't know. Okay, and she talks good. She talks intelligent. She provided me expanded, how to say, if I can say so, expanded answers to all my questions. I've been asking about even details about depth, about angulation, and about everything. And she talks good. Yeah. And after that conversation, I almost decided to go to her. But then the guy with the nickname, Let Nature Take Its Course to a Full Horseshoe, he's now in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he told me about the forum and the topic with the negative feedback.
Okay.
A second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which was done by Arika Bonzal in 2020. Maybe you know.
Yeah, and I have to tell you that's why I tell these two that forum. Some of these forums are going to come and bite them in the fucking ass. And sadly, there's a lot of people who, when you see negative stuff like that, there are people who read that who just had surgery with these doctors, and now they're like, "What the fuck? What did I do?"
Yeah.
It causes them tremendous anxiety. You know? So to get back, and I'm sorry that I interrupted you, but you know, the point is there's always going to be, and that's why hair transplant surgery is such, you know, it's so important to understand the entire scope of this surgery. There will always be somebody who's unhappy with a great clinic. Sometimes it's 2 people a year, sometimes it's 5 people a year. But every clinic has unhappy patients. And sadly, you could be one of them. You could do all the research. You can call the show for fucking 5 years. Make your decision, and you can still get fucked up. Now, it's unlikely that you're going to be as fucked up as if you didn't do any research at all, but it's always a possibility.
What percentage of those 500 cases, if it is, you know, unhappy patients, and what percentage is acceptable to become a member of your alliance?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that there's nobody who applies to my organization over the years that's going to give me a percentage of unhappy patients or provide me with contacts for unhappy patients. period. We get the information about unhappy patients that are directed through the American Hair Loss Association or the IHRS or the Bald Truth, and we create a database. So when somebody applies to the organization, we actually have that information in advance, and we're like, wait a second, we have, I'm just giving a number, 100 complaints here. We can't even look at this person because there's too many people complaining consistently. And then we have people who may have 2 complaints or 4 complaints or 3 complaints. So before anyone actually gets in contact with me personally, we have somebody that actually goes through everything, goes to the database, provides that information, says, okay, this is a person that's worthwhile talking to, and moving further with the application. So I can't give you a percentage. All I can tell you is there's no doubt that there's at least one patient a year, if not more, from every doctor in the IHRS and anywhere else that has, in their minds at least, an unsatisfactory result.
Mm-hmm. So I got it. So I think I understood.
Good.
I think so. So if you don't mind, I provided a link for the picture. If you want to see it in the chat. Yeah, but it was about mostly donor management. If you look at the picture, will you look at the picture?
I can't see it. I can't press on it. Charlie, you said there's a picture in your chat.
Well, you can look, but you cannot. It is for your choice. Okay. And I didn't like it. And I was scared as hell. And now I was trying to understand what her skills really are. Because looking through your Alliance website and looking through Joe Tillman's website, I saw this. I've seen these names. So Dr. Arika Banzal and Dr. Pradip Sethi. But they also, but in the description, they also always go together, And I asked eugenics assistant or the spokesperson, or how to say, he said, I asked him, give me some results before and after, which are made by this doctor, Arika Banzal, because she talks very intelligent, but in practice, so maybe it was paranoia of mine, but I don't know. I was just.
Listen, that's actually. I think that's a healthy.
That's
I think
smart.
it's a healthy skepticism to have.
It's not paranoia. Everybody,
no,
every physician, most
physician,
physicians that you speak to who have the ability to get on the phone, do an online consultation, will be articulate. They will appear to be very knowledgeable. They hopefully will be compassionate, sympathetic, perhaps empathetic, and they will be able to, provide you with detailed information about their craft and about this specialty, and really come off as being someone who's knowledgeable. With that said, doesn't always mean shit. They could be as knowledgeable as they could have all the book smarts in the world, but it doesn't mean that they have the skill set, the hand-eye coordination, or that they're able to delegate and run a team of technicians. So it's great if someone's willing to talk to you, and it's great if they appear to be knowledgeable and they answer the questions in a satisfactory way. But you're right. The rubber meets the road when you see their patients. That's it. That's all that counts.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank
Joe,
you for that.
Joe, I can't say rubber meets the road, or is it because you don't think he's going to understand it?
The kid is in Kazakhstan. You think he has any clue what the hell that means?
No, but everyone else who's listening does.
He's like, why are you talking about automobiles?
Say this expression again. Say this expression again.
The rubber meets the road. That means basically, you will see the only true evidence is when you actually see the results.
Yeah. I also know pushing envelope. How to say envelope? So I understand it. So now you're saying me that I am not paranoid. So, and I started to ask that question, and they said, we don't differentiate our results among the doctors. Yeah. And in the worst case scenario, I thought maybe all these results, even described in Joe Tillman's video, was done by Dr. Sethi, who is not reachable. I cannot book operation with him because he is so freaking busy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was worst case scenario in my head, and I understood that I don't have information about her, and then
Who did Adrian? Who did that guy? Who did Adrian from Australia have surgery with? Do you know, Joe?
I want to say it was a combination. I want to say it was both of them at different times, but it's at the very least, I know that it was primarily Dr. Sethi. But I want to say that Dr. Erica had something to do with it.
Well, here, man.
I don't remember that.
Here's what's happening, and I'm not telling you to jump into anything because it's good that you're being skeptical, but you are also suffering with analysis paralysis. So you got to kind of figure out who you jibe or who you get along best with, who you feel is giving you the straightest or the most honest information. I think that you said you spoke to Server, right? I think that he's an extremely upfront, almost in an abrupt way as far as his honesty and his being straightforward. And I think a lot of guys, especially guys like you, and that's not a bad thing, may have a better rapport with a doctor like him. And he also he does great work.
Okay.
Here's one thing I want to say this. May I want to tell you this. Okay, I think this is really important for your specific case, just because of the way that you're looking at surgery, and the confusion that you're understandably having. It's completely understandable, the confusion that you're having, because you're very inquisitive. You're more concerned than most patients about your choices and about your final outcome and the details that go into your procedure. And I really, really respect that. I'm glad to hear this, these questions that you have about your own sanity and being paranoid, and you're not. But I think I think it was imperative for you to speak to Dr. Merceneau, because he's not trying to sell you a surgery. Where and some of the doctors I work with might not hearing about this. All of them are trying to have sell you a surgery by glossing over a few things here and there that may not be, really upfront as it should be. There's a couple of exceptions there, but Dr. Sever Merceneau, he doesn't pull any punches with his opinion based on his experience about general issues when it comes to hair transplant surgery, and then points about your specific case. And so I think he's a great match as far as learning, because there's nothing that he's trying to persuade you about. He's just trying to tell you the truth. If you have surgery with him or not, it doesn't matter to him, because he's booked out. Like it's not a contest for him to try and get you in the chair. Got to raise his rent too. Yeah, I think that. Shut up. I think that was a great idea for you to talk to him, because he's really not going to lead you around and mislead you, trying to be on that borderline of being truthful and honest while still trying to sell you. He just wants to be truthful and honest.
He is not what you would call a diplomatic or a politician in this field. And he's not even that diplomatic with his patients. He is just, this is what it is. I think these guys will fuck you up. This is why, or this is why I do things the way that I do it. You're not a candidate, or you're a candidate. I mean, he gives zero fucks, this guy. And I really admire him for that.
All right.
All right, man. Listen, we're going to take some more calls. You want to call us back next week?
Oh, really? You are going to cut me off?
Oh, it's only been an hour and 10 minutes.
So it's your choice, no man. So I had 1.5 of hour of conversation with Dr. Masano. And I understood what he wanted to.
He's a very honest guy. He's a good guy, and he's not going to bullshit you. And we know
this. Just tell me one thing about Dr. Stikas. So why? So I got two options. So give me. So do I have a couple minutes?
I'll give you a minute.
It would be minutes. Okay. Let's start. So I think. So two stupid ideas. So first option, I'm gonna go with the best doctor, and the best doctor is most expensive in Europe. But actually now, Dr. Tsvetalin Zaryev is the most expensive because 5 euros per graft. Okay, Marsano is also very expensive. I'm gonna go with him, and I'm gonna have a good result.
You know, you have a very strong possibility of having a great result. He does a lot of repair work for a lot of other doctors in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then, okay. So, will you say me something about Dr. Sikos, because he charges 1.5 euros, but I don't know anything.
Look,
about
the work that he's presented over the years has been excellent. He's a caring physician. I think since he's been an IHRS member, I could only recall one complaint, and it was a complaint from a patient.
Say it to me, please.
It was a complaint from a patient who didn't even have a final result yet, or even close to a final. The complaint was like 3 months out, I think, or maybe 2 months out, or maybe 4 months out. But it was relatively new. He was relatively new to the game. Premature. But you know, there were a couple of complaints about the way he believed he was treated during the surgery, stuff like that. I have received complaints like that from every single clinic that I've ever been associated with. Some clinics have a bad day, or they have a front desk person that's, you know, pissy that day, or a technician that's talking too much during the surgery, or talking about her life and things like that. Most of these things are out of the physician's control. And, you know, people are pissed. They just put down whatever they put down for the money and took time out of their day or their lives to, and they're like, why are these why are these technicians talking about their, their reveal parties, their gender reveal parties, when they're fucking implanting grafts in my hair? So I get it.
Yeah.
All right, man.
And I also only.
Oh my God, you're like the Joe from Staten Island of. Where are you? Where's he located again?
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan,
Astana. I just wanted to say he have only 4 years old results in internet. No new results, and what? So you also.
I don't think he needs to put up new results. There are a lot of clinics out there that don't feel the need to update their online galleries or continue to present results because they don't need to.
Take a look at the New Hair Institute.
The whole reason why you put out results is to get new business, is to attract new potential patients. If you're busy, you don't need to do that. Like there are several top clinics out there that don't update very often because they don't need to. And I understand why they should. I understand why you would be looking for more current results, and I think that's a very smart way to look at things. Like you're the kind of person that when you see something online, you're not taking it for face value. You're asking questions about what you're seeing so you can learn more about it, and you're learning that some results might be no more than 4 years old, or some clinics, just like with Sikos, the results may not be any newer than 4 years old. And I think that again, that's a very smart way of looking at things. Always look at these issues with a skeptical eye, and question everything. I really like. It's refreshing to hear this. But again, I think
doctors developing should develop over the years and show developed results. I think
they should. But if they are busy. I know clinics have said that they stopped posting new results because they don't want to attract new patients. They get enough patients from referrals where they don't need to continue their online endeavors to continuously promote themselves. I get it. I understand. I see both points.
Now, I hope that we were able to answer your questions And I know you're going to have more questions, and you're always welcome to call, man. But there's some of your hair loss brethren that really want to get through.
Didn't understand the last sentence. Okay. Just want to say I didn't understand Dr. Sickles' results of hairline, front line. Was it good or was it not so good? I just couldn't understand. Okay. But I liked him too because he gave me a good consultation. Okay, bye-bye, guys.
Okay, brother. Good luck. Talk to you next week. Take care. 888-659-3727. Guy's never going to have a hair transplant, and he's probably better off.
He might be one of those guys that gets analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Just continues to research and gets frustrated.
And look, there's nothing wrong with that. You know? Yeah. Let's take a call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, Spencer. Hey, it's Mikey.
Mikey, how are you, man? Where are you calling? Where are you calling from now? I know you travel all over the world.
I am currently in Houston, but
wow.
I'll be on a cruise tomorrow. I don't know where I'm going, but hopefully it's somewhere nice.
All right. So what's up?
What's up? I'd like to call in. I had like a few questions, but my first one would be, have you seen Akon's hair transplant? I wanted to bring that up. I'm sure you have.
I have, and I know that. Well,
hi, Joe.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Mikey.
it basically, to me, it looks like he's wearing a knit cap at this point.
Who's he asking about?
Well, the first
Acorn.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're an old man, so you could say Acorn. That's fine. Mikey, explain who this guy is.
I have no idea who it is. Please do.
He's like he's a super famous rapper. He always had like a slightly high hairline, but really nothing too much of, not really nothing of a big deal. And he got like his hairline lowered, but to me it looks a little unnatural.
A little?
Hey, I mean, we're being polite here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not even that it's so low and the sides are still not, like the temple needs to be a little rebuilt a little bit as well. But it's also just not, like the curvature is not matching his face.
Dude, I thought when I saw his picture that he was wearing one of those Muslim caps. You know those caps, those Muslim caps, those knit caps?
Yeah. It's just so straight. The first thing I thought, I'm like, Spencer's right. There's just, no matter who you go to, you can have all the money in the world and people get wrecked. Even people as famous as Acorn.
Yeah. But listen, people are being brutal online about this situation. And frankly, there was a part of me when I first saw it, I was like, is he wearing like a partial system, like a really light, kind of glued on system? Because the density of that hair transplant it's pretty intense. I know he kind of wears it in waves and he has curlier hair. But are there any images of him post-procedure that I missed?
I only saw one or two. I saw it before and after. I don't even know if he got a hair transplant. I'm just assuming he did.
Well, that's what everyone's assuming. But I mean, I don't see any pictures online, and I haven't done a lot of digging. And I figured that you would because you're of that generation, and you're also into.
I probably should have. I just got a little curious. I'm like, hey, I wonder what Spencer would say. I could have sworn you for sure talked about this prior.
No,
it's like,
you know what? I never bring up celebrity hair transplants or their hair loss unless it's brought up on the show to us. I know that Dr. Gary Linkoff, I think he did a video on it.
Yeah, I think that's where I saw it, actually. He's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's what he does, and he gets a lot of eyeballs for doing so, which I think is great. But I don't like to bring anybody's hair transplant up or whether or not they had anything done unless it's brought up on the program.
Yeah, but he's a really good guy, and I figured probably make some people curious, and at least he's bringing attention to it.
It makes a lot of people curious, and people are ruthless online. I mean, the shit that he's taking is unbelievable. So I don't even know.
He's a nice guy, at least from what I know.
I mean, I'm hoping that maybe my initial instinct is correct, that he didn't have a transplant, and he essentially is wearing kind of like a partial system and that he could remove it. Because if he did have a transplant, first of all, I can't imagine that level of density without a complete destruction of his donor area.
The truth is, even before, he looked great. He really had very even hairline. His face was framed.
It was great.
High, but yeah,
it was great.
Like,
he didn't need it.
I have all this money and I have all this hair. Why not just make my hairline a little lower?
Well, now, and I'll bring this up, there's a famous MMA fighter where it's kind of circulating, and I was alerted to this, that he may have had a hair transplant, and this guy actually used to shave his head, and he looked great. Mm-hmm. And I took a look at the images, and I'm like, I mean, it's not the worst work that I've ever seen, but I took a look at the images, and I'm like, oh, why did he do that? And it's because now you can. People just think, yeah, you know what? It's like getting Botox. Just going to get a fucking hair transplant.
So many celebrities get it so gradually. Like, they never even get to a point where it's something where you notice they have hair loss. You know, they've got a lot of money. They have all these people advising them. They got a little bit of recession, and they just jump in there and continuously fix it with, like, really expensive doctors.
Yeah.
Even someone like Justin Bieber, I mean, his hair is great, but you can definitely see he's got those, like, early signs. He'll probably get work done right away before he even comes to anything.
Did he come out and talk about being on Propecia at one point? I thought that I heard that. I could be completely wrong.
He made a joke a long time ago with someone, or a joke. He was a kid then. I mean, he made a comment that, you know, hey, this guy should get on Propecia. He's losing his hair, you know.
Well, that I remember, but I was wondering if he did it as an adult when he was dealing with more aggressive hair loss, because there was a point where I felt it was much more noticeable than it is now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was.
Who knows? Huh.
Look,
who knows?
Most everybody out there is going to be dealing with hair loss. That's what's insane about this. When people tell me that I'm kind of like this show is geared towards a niche or a niche audience, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This is the largest
audience on the planet.
The largest demographic of humankind.
Right. The only niche audience you have are people who are willing to talk about it.
Yes.
Well said.
Absolutely. That was definitely well said. And Mikey, and I know that you pronounce your name Perez, not Perez.
Remember you used to call it Sam?
I remember, and you used to be really nervous on the line. So you used to call Sam, speak really quickly.
I still do that, yeah.
You're much more relaxed now in your old age.
I know.
That's good. It's evolution, man.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about myself for a moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been on finasteride for what? I don't even know how long anymore. Since I was like early 20s, honestly. Kind of done me wonders, held ground. But in the past, I would say 2 years, I definitely noticed marginal thinning.
Yeah.
And I'm on 2.5 milligrams. I'm not even on like the Propecia. I'm on Proscar cut in half.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I care so much less than I used to, honestly, which is probably the best thing out of all this. But I still see myself perhaps looking into surgery in 5 years, and you know, there's just been I used to like read up on it a lot more. You know, I haven't in a while, but upon reading up on it again, I'm noticing stuff like people are taking oral minoxidil.
Yeah.
And topical finasteride.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's switched formats.
Yeah.
Well, I just think like people are less rigid on the stuff that was like FDA approved. I mean, at least the way of delivering these drugs. What do you guys think about that?
What I've seen about it is there's a lot of talk about oral minoxidil. There's a lot of talk in the industry and from physicians that their patients are getting some really good results. I don't know if you did you speak at the first? I think you spoke at the first Global Hair Loss Summit, or was it the second, or both? Yeah. But there was a physician from Spain that actually, you know, kind of reintroduced the use of oral minoxidil at Global Hair Loss Summit. After that talk, everyone started to prescribe it. Now it's being written about in mainstream newspapers, the Times, and so on and so forth. And this is just a medication that's been used forever. There are doctors who have been prescribing oral minoxidil for hair loss for both men and women since I've been in this field. So my thought is it works. It works for a lot of people. With any medication, there is a possibility of adverse side effects. Some people deal with it, some people are more prone, let's put it that way, to having water retention, potential heart issues, but being on the medication, palpitations, things like that. But they're starting people on pretty low dosages now. So for guys, it's been, I think, for some people, it could be a miracle. Even for women. The problem is women have to deal with, hypertrichosis or the appearance of hirsutism after they get on the drug sometimes. And that could be a real, downer for them. So I think it's good that it's out there again. More doctors are prescribing it again. And for guys like you, instead of jumping on dutasteride or jumping into a hair transplant, you could always potentially add this to your regimen and see what happens.
Right. So what if I'm already taking oral finasteride and then I start taking topical? Should I minimize my oral dosage, or am I adding too much by doing both? I'm getting a whole lot in my blood then.
Well, here's the thing. You have to speak to a doctor about that, but as well as you've been listening to this show since you were a kid, Mikey. So, it is dose dependent in my view. We're not doctors, but I've been up. I took up to 7.5 milligrams in a day when I was younger. Probably your age. How old are you now?
Whoa, I did not know that. I'm 32.
Okay. Yeah, I was about your age, a little younger than you, and then of course I titrated down, but I would say that the systemic absorption. What was that?
Oh, sorry to cut you off. I was just saying, what I see is people seeing differences even once they're already on the pill.
There are people who are adding topical finasteride while on oral, and they are seeing some improvement.
Cool.
But most physicians will tell you to stop using the oral and get on their topical or some other topical. So I'm not exactly sure of, I don't want to even say the truth, but all I can say is there's a lot of doctors now who are selling topical finasteride. And I think there's a certain percentage of docs who are kind of leveraging the fear of taking oral finasteride to sell their own product. And there are those who truly believe that topical is better. And I could usually tell the difference because I work with all these guys. But, I think if you're doing well on oral finasteride, if you're not losing a lot of ground, I don't know if I would fuck with it. And talk to your doctor about maybe either upping your dosage a little bit or, potentially getting on oral minoxidil as well on a very small dosage. Once you add something topically once you add anything, you can go through a shed, Mike. You know that. But once you add something topically, you have the pain in the ass of using it. Mm-hmm. And then if you go through a telogen effluvium, it's like, do I keep putting this mess on my head? People don't know. I don't. Ease of use and compliance is really important for success.
100%. 100%. To me, taking a pill is so much easier than putting stuff on my hair twice a day. I only put it on once before I go to sleep.
Right.
But putting stuff topically to me is way more annoying. I'm sure others would agree.
100%. Cool. But I'm also a big fan of it. I'm glad that it's out there, and there's some really good products that are being manufactured now. And there's a product that's coming out in a pretty short period of time that I know is, it's really great so far. But, I would say that these are great products for people who are either shit scared of using finasteride or have orally or have had adverse side effects. And there's plenty of them. So the market is it's huge. There's so many people that will not pop that pill. So this is a great alternative to at least give people a fighting chance to save their hair.
Awesome.
All right, Mikey, man. Always a pleasure. And by the way, Mikey is going to be a faculty member again this year at Global Hair Loss Summit. He was originally just a fan of The Bald Truth many years ago as a young man. How many years ago?
Oh, since my high school days. I mean,
it's fucking insane.
Probably 10, maybe 10 years. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Jesus.
Wow.
Making me feel old.
Yeah, it's when I was down the rabbit hole reading forums and oh man, so much has changed. But I'm honestly happy. Looking back, I just realized how much I used to care. And for people who are going through it, you just care less over time. Well, that's the hope. At least some of us do. But I'm definitely still care about it. I probably will. Yeah, I probably will end up getting surgery, but it doesn't worry me too much. It's just.
But I'm sure you're glad you didn't get surgery way back when.
Oh yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But I'd have all the hair in the front, and they'd be losing more in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Good talking to you. Thanks for the call.
All right, guys. Take care, Joe.
Take care.
Take care, Mikey.
Bye-bye. Enjoy your cruise.
Bye-bye.
Bye. 888-659-3727. He said he's going on a cruise.
Where does the cruise from Houston go? I guess Bahamas or...
I don't know. I have no fucking clue. I won't go on a cruise.
I don't know that one.
I will not be stuck on a boat with 1,000 people.
And a buffet.
Yeah, there's no fucking way. Shit goes sideways on a boat, man. I mean, people lose their fucking mind.
They do. Luckily, I've been trained what to do because I'm a former sailor.
You were a merchant marine, man.
Yes, I was.
That's pretty cool. I forgot about that. You probably get on a boat on one of these cruise ships now. You're checking out where all the life rafts are, all that shit. You have your escape plan
when
ready.
I get on the ferries.
Yeah.
When I get on a ferry to go to Vancouver Island, I'm looking for the lifeboats.
Dude, when I escaped at 9/11, when I escaped Manhattan, and we were getting on the Staten Island ferry, and people, and this is no exaggeration, it's not made up. People were hanging off the side of the ship to get off the fucking island, and it was fucking packed.
Yeah.
People were fighting over life vests, and I'm like, look at these fucking animals, man. There's like no
animals.
When shit goes down, there is no order, man. I had asbestos in my hair. I breathed in that shit for hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, my hair looked really thick though. 888-659-3727. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? Hello.
Hey, Spence. Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hey, hello. Hey, this is Mike from New Jersey.
Hey, Mike.
Hello, Mike.
Hey. Well, that's my colon name.
Okay, that's a good one.
Hey,
okay.
Hey, I think I got that previous caller beat though, Spence, because the first time I heard you, I think it was Sunday nights on WOR, and then you actually went to ABC for a short time too, right?
I did. I was actually on ABC before WOR.
Okay. Yeah, man. I remember hearing you there. So I hope I know you mentioned.
God damn it! How old are you?
Shows back that me. I'm friggin' 50.
83.
You're 50 what? 54?
52.
52. Okay, so I'm still older than you, and I was a kid when I started that show on WABC.
No, man. Yeah. Oh, hey, did you hear who died?
A lot of people.
Bernard McGurk.
Speaking of old.
Show?
Really? Oh, yeah, I knew that. Sure, I know he died. Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. He died a few weeks ago. Young guy. But yeah. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Another thing before I get to my quick topic. Hey, you mentioned an MMA fighter. Did you see the last UFC last Saturday? Because Steven Seagal was there in the front row. Have you seen his hair?
I didn't see him on Saturday, but holy shit! I got to say, this has been going on for years, though. I mean, and look, I'm not here. I do a paint job myself, but that paint job is just that's a work of art.
A literal paint job.
Yeah.
It's a literal paint job. I'm expecting him to take over for Ron Pompeo and doing the late night infomercials for good looking hair in a can.
But I want to see that. I want to see the process. That's all. He's got to do a YouTube video for us.
That would be awesome.
I want to see him wake up in the morning, roll out of fucking bed, and start that process.
Well, I'm sure he's going to tell everybody it's all natural. He never did a thing to it. It's just how it is,
Of course.
Like Gene Simmons, right? He's right there with Gene Simmons. I mean,
dude, it's like I hate doing this, but it's like fucking black cotton candy.
Yeah, I know. And it's so funny. He's sitting there in the front row with his arms crossed over, his sunglasses on, with that jet black. He's like he's got the Eddie Munster thing going on.
But here's the thing. Now, I'm not going to dye my hair, but I would be the same thing. I would have like gray cotton candy. I had a producer on WNEW. No, I'm sorry, in Westwood One. He used to call me Tumbleweed. How fucked up is that?
No, that doesn't suit you. Tumbleweed's not a good nickname for you.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
I got to tell you, it was so clever, I couldn't help but laugh.
Yeah, well, it is funny. It is funny, but the nickname I don't think suits you though. But no, you mentioned a few one of the last shows I was watching that you're kind of in semi-retirement, but I hope you don't retire. You've got to keep this show up because it is. It's awesome. You and Joe are great, man. So don't.
Look, I appreciate that, but look, I could roll out of bed on a Friday afternoon and do the fucking show and still be retired.
Yeah, but that's great. That's great, man. I mean, really awesome. But the people talk about Joe Rogan and everything. Yeah, he's great. But the first show I remember watching on my phone and calling into was you. So I don't know if radio and television knows that, but you're definitely a pioneer.
I appreciate that, man. I'm going to use that clip on Instagram because none of these motherfuckers know that.
No, it's goddamn true. The first show I'd ever called into while I was watching my phone.
We did the first live call-in show, streaming call-in show ever. And you know what? I have to tell you that we still, for the most part, at least on YouTube, not a lot of live call-in stuff. And the people that try it, they can't pull it off because they just haven't figured out how to rig their gear properly. Joe knows all about that.
Maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't care. I mean, because everybody in their third and fourth cousin has a podcast today. But it's like maybe they just get into podcasts because they think it's the thing to do. But do they really care? Do they really give a damn? Or do people even care about their podcast?
Look, whatever. There's a lot of money in podcasting now, and if they're good enough, or if you're a comedian, I mean, everyone's got to have a show. And I think. I think it's great. Everyone says it's oversaturated. There's too many celebrities now, so there's a lot of bitter people who, were doing shit like I was doing back in the day who never made it. And I always. And as you know, I was always like, this show isn't my bread and butter. I like doing the show. It is my, I guess, I'm trying to get, well, this is going to sound completely altruistic, and it's not. I'm not completely altruistic, but this is my way of giving back every week just to do my thing. I don't care if we reach 2,000 or 3,000 people. That's a lot of fucking people. I don't need to reach 50 million people. Now, I wish at some point that I wasn't quite as I dealt with a lot of shit early on in my career, so I decided to kind of pull back the reins on the program and keep it small for a very long time. Once I got off radio, I didn't want to do a podcast. I didn't want recordings out there because there's a lot of fucked up motherfuckers that just giving me grief. And I was just like, you know what? I'll open up the show live, and whoever catches it, that's great. So now we're starting to put more recordings online, and I've let Joe put the show up on his channel, which I appreciate. And but we're also getting to a point now where people are reaching out to us. Maxim magazine. I have an opportunity to be potentially on. I'm not going to say the platform, but they're reaching out to us. But to me, it's like, do I do it, or is it just like adding more work for myself?
Right.
But there's a guy like you who's like, let's do it. You got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. You definitely got to do it. No Spencer Kobren, no Bald Truth. Sorry, Joe, but
No, I've get in line, buddy.
Look, no Spencer Kobren. There's no Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth with Joe Tillman. He knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Joe Tillman, I wouldn't be on YouTube. Well, maybe I would with the guys from Queens Network, but I kind of gave that up a while ago.
That's where I catch your show most often. I catch it, on YouTube. After you've done it, that's where I go and watch it.
So you can thank Joe for that.
Yeah. No, Joe's the man. He sure as hell beats Dave Salazzo. That's for sure.
Oh my God, poor Dave. I don't know if Dave moved out of his house yet.
Dave Salazzo. Wow, I haven't heard that name in a while.
I told you, man.
Is he still in the? Is he still in the? Like, what's going on with him? I've not watched or listened to Stern in a long time.
Dave Salazzo. Well, Dave Salazzo wasn't on Stern. He was on my show. And
I was thinking of who's the other guy? Yeah, I remember Dave now. Who's the guy?
Chauncey Hayden.
I was thinking about on Stern. The guy with the mustache. The doesn't matter. Anyway,
I don't know.
I'm bad
Come on,
with names.
Come on. I'm gonna let you struggle with this, old man.
Go ahead. No.
But Dave,
I'm not struggling anymore. I gave up.
Look, I always bring on, like, I take people under my wing. Dave was he was a guy that just was relentless in contacting me when I was on WNEW. Brought him on my wing, and I'm like, this guy's got a good voice. He sounds like he's super neurotic. Let's bring him in. And I put him on the show, and you know what? There was a group of people who really liked him. And then we had Joe from Staten Island, and I'm just like, this is the fucking freak show, man. I had a good time.
Yeah.
Well,
and now we got our own little freak show going on.
He had some very bizarre habits. I think you mentioned one time, Salazzo. He had some really strange quirks or something like that.
I mean, like the proclivity of ball busting. He used to like to have young women, I should say, meet him around the back of 7-Eleven and kick him in the balls.
Hey, what's strange about that?
Yeah, but he would talk about it on the air. It wasn't like I was just talking about it.
You say that like it's a weird thing.
Yeah. So, and he would say somewhere in his life he got his wires crossed. Something happened, and that's how he got pleasure. And there's this, and he's like, look it up. And I looked it up, and there's this whole community of ball busting guys who like to get their fucking nuts kicked in.
Well, this is the first time I'm ever hearing of that. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I don't know if I could say this now because things have changed to the point, but there was a time when Joe from Staten Island would talk about his love for chicks with cranks.
With what?
Chicks with cranks, transsexual women.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Hey, he was ahead of his time.
He was ahead of his fucking time. That's Joe from Staten Island.
Yeah.
And then he would correct me and say, "I don't like chicks with cranks. I like post-op transsexual women."
Ah, okay, that makes a difference.
So he liked the idea that this woman was born a man, then identified as a woman, and decided to do the full Monty, and have her penis turned into a vagina, and that was his thing.
Oh my God! They sound such like normal guys on the air. Jesus, who you never know. You never know.
They usually do.
Dude, let me tell you something. After doing this program, sitting in traffic, looking at people next to me in their fucking cars, I'm just like, I wonder what kind of shit they're into, man.
Yeah. What the hell? The hell's going on just below that door sill that I can't see what's going on in their car?
Yeah. Who fucking knows what their what their internet searches look like, man? Their browser looks like.
Oh shit! Wow.
So what can we do for you, man?
Okay. Very quickly. So I got on Propecia when I was 29, and so that was back in 2000. In the summer of 2000, and I had sort of that, as Costanza said, the classic, shoehorn pattern. My father lost his hair very early on, which was kind of surprising because my grandfather, his father, had that thick Brillo hair, that a lot of guys had back in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, that was a good look.
So it's great looking, and he had it.
Yeah.
I was prescribed it in the summer of 2000, and for me, it was a miracle drug. I took it every day for 2 years, and it did what Mark said it could do. If you still had, a decent amount of hair, but you were losing it, you could. I think they weren't going overboard. They weren't saying, you're going to grow everything back. They said, the potential is good, blah, blah, blah. If you got it at a certain age and you caught it at a certain time, and that's what happened to me. I grew my hair back, and I think even more. But after 2 years, I stopped taking it because...
You're welcome.
Actually, when I called you... Yeah.
I'm just fucking you,
Mark.
I'm glad that you found the show, man, and it probably gave you a little bit of... Now, did you start taking it before you found the show?
Well, I remember... That's a good question. I think it was right at maybe... Because the first time I heard you, I guess I remember was on OR. Now I don't remember if that was the late '90s or.
It was late '90s, man. The late '90s.
Yeah. So I think I heard it before, but then I saw remember.
You know, I was an inch taller back then.
Really?
I shrunk, man. I'm like 5'11.25" or some shit. The doctor measured me. I'm like, what? I said, that's wrong. I'm like, no. He's like, no, that's right.
Oh, shit, man. Yeah. Yeah, that's too young to happen. It usually doesn't start happening right in your late 60s, early 70s.
What he doesn't know is I'm paying his doctor every year just to tell him he's a little bit shorter every year just to fuck with him.
Fucked up. No, it's not young, actually. That would be fucked up. It actually starts to happen to guys in their late 30s, early 40s.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay, that I didn't know, because usually, when you meet people who are like say in their 70s or 80s, they'll tell you, oh, I'm shrinking, man.
Oh no, they're shrinking to the point where they're like, noticing that they can't drive anymore. That's how they're shrinking. But like, I wasn't walking around thinking like I'm shrinking, like something happened. I just happened to measure it. I'm just like, what the fuck?
We just got to switch doctors.
I don't know. I got to start wearing lifts like Joe.
Yeah. Oh, poor Joe.
It's a joke.
Ha! Ha! That's good.
But,
go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. So. Anyway, yeah, it was a miracle. I guess, miracle too far, but it did as advertised, as Merck said. And then I stopped taking it after 2 years because I was having that feeling that some guys have. Like I felt like I had to go to the bathroom like 20 times a day, take a piss about 20 times a day.
Yeah.
So So I, kind of for a while I was like, what the hell's going on? But then I stopped taking it, and that went away. But I kept my hair. I kept it for like a long time. I'd say because that was like a 2002. I stopped taking it. And I'd say not until 2008 or 9 did I sort of notice, hey, I'm losing. I got to get back on it. And I went and I got back on some generic. And I didn't notice anything. But then I went and I went to a doctor who would prescribe Propecia, because a few internists I went to would not prescribe it.
Yeah.
In northern New Jersey. So I went to, I don't know if I mentioned his name. I mean, he's a good friend of yours, I think, and
sure,
he did prescribe it for me. And I got back on the real stuff.
You can mention anybody's name.
Oh, Bernstein.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, but just an aside, Spence. I know, like hair transplant doctors don't take insurance. I think that's correct. Like none of them take insurance. It's all like upfront payment. But I'm sure he's a good guy. But $175 for 5 minutes. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Look, man. You know what? It's what the market will bear. Fuck it. If you can get that much money, wouldn't you?
I know. And his offices, I don't think he owns that building, so he's paying a lot in rent too. So,
whatever it is, like that, I do not begrudge anybody from being able to command whatever they command as far as making money. If you got the service that you expected, then that's But I understand your point. I mean, still, that's a lot of fucking money for 5 minutes.
Yeah. But I agree with you to some extent. I agree. If somebody is willing to pay it and wants to and thinks it's a need they need, and that's the, he's not like some guy in a dark alley. He's a legitimate doctor.
Yeah.
So,
But Mike, anyway, also keep in mind that a lot of the better clinics, or at least clinics that I'm in communication with and that I know about, they'll charge a consultation fee like that just to keep out the tire kickers, the people that are coming in for free advice to add to a pool of free advice they get from 19 other places, instead of doing their research first and then coming to them when they're serious.
Right.
It acts as a deterrent, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure. Well, I'm sure. Yeah, with all his experience, he knows that too, and maybe that's one of the reasons for that. But that aside. So anyway, like But so I went back on the real stuff for a while, and now though, so my prescription of that ran out. So I've kind of been taking it like intermittently, now and then. I've been lucky enough to be able to sort of take it intermittently.
That's what I do.
But I guess my final question is, and I think I already know the answer, but Keeps, what do you guys think of it? I know you're not crazy about generic drugs whatsoever, but do you think it's legit?
And here's the thing: I just want to let you know, it's not that it's not that I think that generic drugs are illegitimate or that we don't like them. Generic drugs work, but you have to be on the right generic. And I think that, and like Joe said, I think Keeps, honestly, and they were the first. I think they were before Hims. I could be wrong about that, but they really reintroduced the use of finasteride to so many young people who were so shit scared of using Propecia. They didn't even know what the fuck 100%. They were taking. They're just taking these pills. Like, what's finasteride? Oh, it's Keeps. You know, it was brilliant. The marketing was absolutely brilliant.
I don't take finasteride. I take Keeps.
Yeah, that's what they call it, Keeps. So it's brilliant, and it gave people a lot of opportunity to get on a drug that could really help them. And I have to say that if you go through all the data and at least the complaints that have come through the American Hair Loss Association, less people complain of adverse side effects from these companies like Keeps and Hims and Roman and Lemonade and all these companies that are selling these subscription prescriptions than those who are taking drugs prescribed by their physician. And there's no legitimate reason for that. It's because they don't realize what the fuck they're taking.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, when I was on Propecia, the first thing I sort of noticed was, when I was, when I was a young guy, I was out a lot, and I was, yanking my crank, and there wasn't as much coming out as usual. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that was kind of almost the thing, hey, this thing is working. And that I, maybe I'm older, but I don't notice that anymore. It's the same amount.
Well, is it the same? I mean, when you were young, you were probably shooting ropes, and then you weren't. Now, it's probably it's just dribbling out like it always does.
No,
now it's like Grandpa with the applesauce.
Yeah.
No, but it was just like I don't know if it was that first. I don't know if it was that first batch of Propecia they had that was so effective. I mean, and I don't know if it's been watered down or if it's the same, but the day I started taking it, I just noticed right away, and I could notice the results. Now I was 29, soon to be 30, but I noticed the results. Spencer and Joe, probably within the first, it was a while ago now, but probably within the first 2 weeks, I could see a change in it. I mean,
okay. So how long have you been back on Propecia? Are you on Propecia or Proscar?
Well, I'm on the generic Keeps, whatever the hell that is.
Okay.
So it'd be like.
Okay, so you're on 1 milligram of generic finasteride. Are you? Yes. And how long have you been on it?
Okay, I went on Keeps. It had to have been probably a little more than a year now.
Okay. Have you noticed the difference between... I thought I heard you say that you went to Bernstein to get another prescription. The prescription that you got, was that generic?
No, I actually went to Bernstein to get, at first, I went to Bernstein, I think, 2 or 3 times to get the prescription because I had to go back when they ran out. Once I could get it, I think I went to him twice, but the first time I went to him, I got the generic because obviously it's much cheaper. But then the second time around, I said, hey, I'd rather get the Propecia. So, yeah, the second time around, I got the real stuff as opposed to the...
So let me ask you, from being on the real stuff to being on, when it's still the real stuff, but being on generic Keeps, have you noticed a difference?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know. Nothing is like that first time, those first 2 years.
Yeah.
Because, it's like I use a concealer too, just about every day now, like, Topic for the front of my hair.
Right.
Good question. I think I probably have lost something, but not a lot. I think it kind of like, I sort of go like a little bit back and forth, I've noticed, like, when I sort of get really concerned, I think maybe, I don't think I'm seeing things, I think I'm losing more. I kind of get back on it. And it seems to, then I see an improvement. Then,
okay, so you're on it now, you're on Keeps now, you feel that you're not having any adverse side effects, correct?
Correct.
Spencer, camera off me, gotta take a piss.
Okay. And, so you've been on it for, again, repeat, was it, you said almost a year?
Yeah, it's been more than a year, probably a year and a half now, I guess.
And now you're noticing that you're still going through any type of shed? Are things holding their ground right now?
I think they're holding their ground right now.
Okay.
But it's just like, I'm just, it's like, I don't know. Because I guess I'm just like, is this even? Should I even stay on it? Just go back to the real thing, or just maybe wait and see? I don't know.
I wouldn't fuck with it too much, honestly. I mean, you've already been taking it for a year. Your body is used to their generic. Now, I'm not saying it's possible always that anytime you go with these subscription companies that they could change generic on you without you knowing it. But if things seem to be maintaining, if you don't have any adverse effects, you are 53 years old. The very fact that you are 52, okay, well, you're a baby. You are 52. God bless you. And I think that maintaining what you have now is pretty significant. Now let me ask you: if you were able to maintain what you have today for the next 10 years, would you be happy?
Yes, I would, because I just don't like. The other thing I was going to mention real quick, not to take up too much of your time, is like I love your show, but so much of your show is taken up with transplant advice and transplant this and that, and I know it's sort of disappointing because sometimes it's like what's being done in the you just mentioned the guy about oral minoxidil and things like that, but I wonder if there's anything coming down the pike to probably replace Proscarf. Propecia or any of the big pharmacy companies working on that. I mean, it doesn't sound like they are anymore.
There are companies and new subscription-based companies that are working on kind of better formulations of topical finasteride and better formulations of like oral minoxidil mixed with other agents and also oral minoxidil mixed with other agents. So, they're starting to find out just by trial and error that certain combinations of the medications that we have right now are kind of keeping people's hair on their heads growing for longer periods of time. So a guy like you who's had success for so long on finasteride might be able to add oral minoxidil to his regime, or might be able to add a topical that may have, kind of like I don't necessarily love taking both oral and topicals. And I think that topicals, honestly, while we have seen a lot of evidence that they're working really well for people, if you're already taking oral finasteride, I don't see the point of putting a topical on your head and dealing with that mess and just the compliance issues and all that stuff. But to answer your question, in the drug world, there's not a lot happening. There's a company that recently just got a round of funding for I think $11 million that they're working on regenerative treatments for hair loss, and also they are working with some current medications. So there's companies that are starting to get outside funding that we've never seen before. There's the Stemson Therapeutics. They're going to be presenting at this year's Global Hair Loss Summit. They seem to be the closest to kind of a cell-based regenerative type of treatment for hair loss, where they're actually creating hair follicles, which you've heard me talk about. You've been listening to the show for 20 years, but these guys are actually getting close, and they're getting real funding from real pharmaceutical companies and from real venture capital guys to actually move forward with this stuff. And you don't get that kind of outside funding unless you're getting closer. So
that's great to hear.
Yeah,
I didn't hear. I've heard nothing about that. Okay.
Yeah, look up Stemson Therapeutics. And you can Google today.
I guess you've mentioned them. Have you mentioned them before? I guess you must have mentioned them before.
I probably have. And they were at last year's Global Hair Loss Summit, but they're getting even closer, I think, to, they're doing better with their porcine or their pig models. So, which is closer to a human, generating hair in humans. So, I mean, there's still a lot of obstacles, but they are working towards it. And you're not dealing with kind of an academic lab where the labs essentially just try to get grants in order to keep the labs open to pay salaries. And, you've been hearing things from like Columbia, Angela Cristiano, and George, what's his name? The guy from the University of Pennsylvania. Now I forget his last name, I'm getting old. But they've been in the game since I've been in the game. And, they keep getting grants and they keep getting good press releases because they kind of like move a half an inch and everyone gets really excited about it. You know, a great place to get all this information is Hair Loss Cure 2020. This guy's actually in the chat room right now. This guy is on top of it when it comes to all the future treatments. He's more on top of it than I am right now. But I kind of gave up on this shit after my first broadcast on WABC when I said the cure's going to be here in 5 fucking years. Man, was I fooled.
I remember you saying that too, but that's what's so disappointing because it's going to be 23, and it's still kind of like
Oh, you know what? Check out hairlosscure2020.com. I think that's the URL. It's an incredible website. This guy does a great job, and if you want any information on cutting edge stuff, it's right there. And I'm sure that he wrote a blog post about this recent round of funding for this company that was founded by oh man, I forget. Was it Maxim Pincus and Bill Rassman and some other guys? And forgive me if I got the names wrong, but I'm not paying as close attention as I used to, because listen, man, at this point, I'm I've been doing this for a long time, man. When it's time, when these guys really get to this point, they're going to contact me and say, "Hey, Spence, we got it," and then we're going to talk about it, and then you're going to go to my website and you're going to see picture of me with a fishing rod, and that's it.
Gone fishing.
Gone fishing.
I'm waiting for that damn day, man. You know, I mean, really, I mean, let's get this shit over with, all right? Already, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit, what was I going to say? I had one more thing to say, but what the hell was it? Oh, I'm getting old. I can't remember.
All right, brother.
Hair Loss Cure 2020. Hair Loss Cure 2020.
Yeah. That's it, man. Okay. Great site. Really, you want any information about future treatments, that is the site to go to.
All right. Well, great. Okay. Well, great. Thank you, guys.
Brother, man, thank you so much for calling in, Mike. Yeah. I know that's not your real name, Mike from Jersey. It's always great to hear from an old fan or an old listener. Not that you're old, but a guy who's been listening for a long time.
Yeah. Well, just stay on the show, Spencer. Don't go anywhere. All right.
You know what? I'll turn on this mic. I'll do the show, and we'll see what happens. I'll keep going. Good. All right, brother. Take care.
All right, great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
See you, Mike.
I'm tired, but this other guy's been holding on for a long time. Do you want to take a short call? Oh, you're back.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I'm back.
Hey, caller, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
Who's this? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Did you say who's this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I've been holding on for a while, and I wasn't sure if anything was actually happening.
Well, there is something happening. Welcome to the show. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
This is Carlos from Texas.
Carlos, what's happening, my man?
Hello, Carlos.
Yeah, how you doing? I've been keeping up with this show with you guys for, I don't know, the best of 6 years on and off. Probably since I was 25.
Thank you for the support.
Well, all right.
Yeah, and I've also seen Joe's stuff on YouTube, hair transplants, and that's about 25. I think that's when I started noticing hair loss on me. And I guess that's when I started just going down the rabbit hole of researching, what to do. Before that, I was just, just living my life, not really thinking about it. I actually thought before that hair loss was something that was going to happen maybe, if anything, maybe in my 40s, late 30s. But apparently that wasn't the case, I'm not in bad shape per se. I was freaked. There was a point where I was freaking out in my mid-20s. I thought I was going to be bare bald by 30, but I'm 32 now, and it hasn't been as bad as I initially thought.
Well, that's great, man.
I like hearing that.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I really don't know about I think I might have gone through some stressful times in my life, and maybe I went through like a total effluvium phase, and maybe that made me. I think that's what probably gave me the first glimpse of, having less density than, when I was in my early 20s or late teens. So I think that's when. But I honestly thought that it was going to be a a fast process, at first cleanse. I don't know if you guys went through that, when you first noticed your hair loss.
Dude, when I first noticed my hair loss, that's when I had gotten drunk before, earlier in my life, but I didn't drink at all. I started to hang out at a bar, okay? My entire life changed. I thought it was over. I had to figure it out, get a wife, do all that shit. I had to make it all happen in a year. That's how desperate I felt. So I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I know how you feel. I mean, even me, I guess it wasn't really noticeable, but I guess I've always been very conscious about my physical appearance, especially in my mid-20s, because I've always, especially in my early 20s, I always knew, obviously, I don't know, I wasn't like the best looking guy, but I always felt pretty confident in my looks, and I thought that was like my strong card, because I'm not one of the, I was never one of these very outgoing guys that, very confident.
You didn't have to be, because you were good looking.
I guess so. Well, when I was going up through high school, I wasn't, I guess I hadn't grown into my manly features, but as I was going into my teens, late teens, early 20s, I started lifting weights, I started bulking up, I started getting more attention from women, and that boosted my confidence, but obviously, like, hair that I didn't know at the time was, like, obviously a huge part of it,
Absolutely.
So
I think I freaked the fuck out. I looked like at 10 years old when I graduated from high school, and then, well, maybe not 10, but, like 12. Or something. I think Joe's seen pictures. And then my first year of college, I went from like 5'9.5" to over 6 feet tall. I bulked up. And I remember coming back to the city, and all of a sudden, it's like a different life, man. I had this great hair. It was incredible. And that didn't last long. So once you have that, and then you start to lose it, and you're a kid, and you're not, it's not like you're making millions of dollars yet or anything like that. That is what you're focused on. So I get it, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, I guess in my mid-20s, I think I tried a few things. Obviously I was freaking out. I talked to my parents. I knew Propecia was like the probably best first line of defense, but I also I wasn't sure if I was freaking out, if I was like taking, if it was too drastic of a measure, because I didn't know how this was going to progress, So some years went by. I think the only thing I did was I tried a keto connoisseur shampoo, which kind of it kind of boosts your growth a little bit. So I did notice that it kind of gave me a little bit back of density, and I just kind of went with it. But over the last few years, especially last year, I have noticed more shedding, which is bringing back a little bit more of that initial anxiety that I had in my mid-20s. I kind of just went with it. I've kind of just been going with it, and I just accepted that, this is something that's slowly going to happen. Obviously, the slower it happens, the better, right?
Yeah. Well, have you considered speaking to your doctor if it's still a concern of yours and getting on medication? Because you've already gotten to your, early 30s when you thought that you wouldn't have this much hair. And if it's still a concern for you, really the only thing that you can do to stop it or slow it is to take medication.
No, yeah, Propecia was always in the back of my mind. I was always like, I had that inner struggle that I guess most guys have of, should I pull the trigger? Is it going to kill my dick? You know what I'm saying? But since I still had, I guess, a decent head of hair that I was okay with, I was like, I kind of didn't feel the need entirely. I wasn't desperate enough to just be like, okay, but the thing is, about a year ago, one of my dad's friends was in his 50s. He talked to me for an astronaut. I think he's a surgical tech or something in the medical field, and he told me about him and some doctors that are on the medication, and they were doing fine. So I was like, okay, maybe this is not so dangerous, right? So the thing I did, I live close to Mexico, so I crossed over to Mexico, and I got some 5 milligram finasteride. I really don't. It's like I think I got some sort of generic Mexican brand.
El Finasterito.
Yeah, it was. I just figured it's finasteride.
And it's so cheap they pay you to take it.
Yeah. It was like, I don't know. It wasn't even $20 for a whole bottle. I really don't know how many came in the bottle. So I was so wary about this, but I was just like, okay, might as well try it. I took it for a little bit. I think I took it for like a week, and I think I cut the pill. It was a 5. I guess it was like a Proscar version, Mexican pharmaceutical version of Proscar. It was 5 milligrams, and I started cutting it, and I took like 5 pieces of, I cut it into quarters, and I took it for like a week. And I even skipped some doses here and there because I was trying to, I guess, get the smallest dose possible.
All right, and what happened?
Which probably was... the thing is, like, about a week in, I got complete erectile dysfunction. I could not... and I'm not saying this to spread fear-mongering or anything. This is just my experience.
It's not fear-mongering, but you were also taking El Proscoro.
Yeah, so I just got... I couldn't... Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the things that's in my mind. I got so freaked out. I got complete erectile dysfunction, and I thought I was fucked. I mean, I started going crazy. I started researching, going down the Reddit rabbit hole. People talking about PFS and never being able to, recover their function. And I was like, I literally got anxiety. I couldn't sleep.
Of course, I'd be the same. I'd be the same way, man. I was once put on a tricyclic antidepressant at the age of 21 years old because of my hair loss, actually. And I took it for one day, and I woke up. I normally would wake up with a fucking silo, and I woke up and nothing. I tried it out, nothing was happening. I called my shrink. I'm like, look, man, my dick's not working. He said, get off the pill. Got off the pill. A day later, everything was back to normal. And in general, when it comes to this drug as well, no matter what you read on the internet, yes, there's a subset of, just anomalies out there who might be suffering with long-term adverse side effects from the drug. And there has been some recent information that came out stating that Merck did not provide this information initially during its clinical trials of the drug, but that's also kind of skewed because essentially there was no follow-up of these patients after just a few weeks once they stopped medication. The guys that did complain of continued adverse events. So, again, most people who stop the drug go back to full function. So if you're one of these guys who had this adverse event, I can pretty much guarantee that you're fine now, right?
No, yeah, I think I'm pretty much recovered. Like I said, I was freaking. I think after about, it was like a solid horrible 2 weeks. Maybe I think at the third week it was like I noticed that my Johnson was kind of alive again, and that's when I was like, whoa, okay, this is probably not as bad as I thought it was going to be initially. And and then a few weeks later, I hung out with a girl that I was seeing at the time, and then I kind of got recovered full function from then.
That's good. There's plenty of guys that would just have anxiety after that, and they'll have performance anxiety and stuff like that. So you didn't have to deal with any of that shit. You're functioning normally. That's fucking great, and that's what happens with most people who have adverse effects, sexual effects from the drug. So I'm glad that you're fine.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a few more minutes. What do you need now? What do you want to do now? You're dealing with hair loss again. You already had a bad adverse effects from taking El Proscoro. And are you calling to ask what else you can possibly try?
Yeah, it's because there's so much information out there, like there's so much stuff on YouTube and stuff, and like people are saying like there's so much information that says like, oh, like lower the dose or I don't know, oral minoxidil, but it seems like there's always like some sort of thing that can just go very bad with each treatment. So I feel like
it's like that with any drug that you put into your body, man. Just like if you take an aspirin, you can drop fucking dead. You can have anaphylactic shock. You can have all kinds of issues. There's shit coming out about people who've been using regular Tylenol use. All kinds of shit that happens to people's livers.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
over-the-counter stuff. There's Cimetidine, which was like Zantac, is now it's taken off the market. It was on the market for what, 2 decades almost, causing cancer. It's the way that it is, man.
Yeah. Sadly, it's just pharmaceuticals. You know, it's not. It's not 100%.
I've been on this drug for almost 30 years. I don't know what the fuck it's doing to me. I have no idea. You know?
No, yeah. I guess my only question was if you guys were in my shoes, of being a guy in your 30s, but you're still worried about hair and looks.
Wait a second there. Are you saying that being people in our 50s, we don't care about our hair or our looks?
No.
You saying we're not in our 30s too?
No. It's just that, I don't know, man. I guess I don't have the right mindset of because obviously I don't have the mindset of a 50-plus-year-old mind yet, or how I'm going to think at that time.
When I walk into a bar, I still like to feel that I'm still in the game. That's it. Now, at this stage of my life, I have to wear like a jacket with $100 bills pinned to it. But it's okay.
No, it does bum me. It does bum me out that it feels like the older you get as a man, it just feels like you really to stay in the game. You really have to just show that you have wealth. You know what I'm saying? Because your main asset to be in the game as a young man is looks, and obviously having all your hair and just looking young. It just does wonders for you. But it's just as you get older, it's the reality of life. I realize that. But obviously, the most
dude, if you're a man in any, it doesn't matter what society you're in. If you're a man, you got to produce. That's it. And if you're not producing and you're relying on your looks as a man, it doesn't matter how good you looking you are. I know, I have a family member actually, best looking guy you've ever seen. Totally jacked, great looking guy. He was a great athlete. Got involved with drugs. Still a great looking guy. Like you see this guy looks like a model, but he's not getting laid by anything reasonable at this point. And he's like 50 years old now, and he's still full head of hair, incredibly piercing blue eyes. Like if you just saw a picture of him, you're like, holy shit, this guy looks good. But he didn't know how to earn, and he had a miserable fucking life, and I feel bad for him. So
yeah, that's just the way it is. Yeah, but I'm just saying like that. Even if you get older, you still want to. I guess the looks, even if producing is obviously part of the equation, but you still looks. I guess they help with your.
Dude, look at Jeff Bezos. Okay, look at Jeff Bezos. A few years ago, you see this guy. He didn't shave his head. He's got like the crazy eye thing happening. He's all fucked up now. You see him on a fucking super yacht. He's super jacked, all on steroids and shit, probably. Shaved his head, and he's with a hot piece of ass. So not only is he the richest man in the world, or the second richest man in the world, he looks much better.
Depends on the time of the week.
Yeah, he looks much better because he decided, I'm going to focus on this now. And he can have any woman he wants. He's still got that fucking eye. And he's bald.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? You know what's funny is you take the money away and you compare the way that he looks now. Forget the jacked part, just the shaved head and looking clean cut. Compare that to when he first started at Amazon. When he's wearing the sweaters and his he had the he was obviously losing a lot of his hair, but he wasn't trimming it. He wasn't keeping it clean cut. He looks vastly better now, 25 years later, than he did as this, bookworm trying to start an internet business out of his garage. Yeah. Looks so much better. Again, forget the steroids and the chefs catering to his every nutritional need, and the fact that he's a 100 billionaire. He just looks better. Period. He takes care of himself.
I just think it's
and I was going to chime in. It's like you said something really important about how as you get older, it's harder and harder to get the attraction you want from the opposite sex. You got to work harder for it. The looks aspect, the aesthetic aspect. I disagree with that to a point because as long as you don't turn into a fat troll. As long as you're producing, that's what matters. And you actually realize that as you get older. you realize that you don't need to be a certain physical ideal that you may have had in your own mind 20 years prior. Like when I was younger, I was doing everything I could to become one of these physiques that you see on magazines. I worked really hard at it. But
now look at him, he just fucking gave up.
I just gave up. and you have this thing of beauty in front of you.
That's true.
No, it's like as long as you're not a troll and you keep yourself in pretty decent physical condition, you're not too overweight, and you're not a fat slob. It's what you make of yourself as a person. And this doesn't, I'm not trying to sound all Tony Robbins on you on this, but it's true. Like, if you've made something of yourself in your particular profession, and you go to a gathering of your colleagues and you are doing really well, the sea will fucking part for you as you walk into the room, and people notice you.
That's what happened to me and Joe when we go to these meetings.
It's a completely different experience than trying to gain a physical, aesthetic that's unattainable. You see on magazines. It's a completely different ballgame, and it's much more real.
Yeah.
He's like, I get that, but what can I do for my fucking hair?
Exactly. I know.
Yeah. It's just like, I guess, like, I'm the kind of person that, I guess I was obsessed growing up, and I'm starting to see this a lot in my generation, the millennials, and also like a lot more of the younger people, the Gen Z crowd, that I don't know if it's just me or the people that I'm around, but usually I've noticed that the younger generation is more into we're focusing a lot on the looks max of life, and looks this and looks is going to open all these doors, and maybe it always has.
I think now with social media, it's even more difficult. It's more in your face.
Yeah, it's hyper focused now. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to go in a second. I got to get out of here. But I would say that the guys, the few guys that are still out there focusing, not just on getting to the gym, but doing these fucking tech startups and all that stuff. These are becoming the real heroes of your generation, man. So, you want to keep your hair, great. I do too. I'm doing everything that I can. You didn't do well on oral finasteride. I don't know if I would risk it again. I'd probably consider talking to a doctor about topical finasteride.
Yeah. And that was one of the questions that I was going to ask you guys. I guess the main question is, what would you do, topical finasteride, maybe just because, that crappy finasteride I got in Mexico, you think that might have been the main cause of the adverse side effects, or is it just, overall?
It could have been, but, you don't know. You could titrate. You can take a very small dose of oral finasteride and see how you do. You know that you recover at least from having the adverse events or the adverse side effects. So at least you know that you have the body and the hormonal balance, and you have experience in having full recovery. So if you want to chance it again, you can talk to your doctor about that and maybe do intermittent dosing orally. But because there are some really good topical finasteride solutions out there now, while I think it's much more of a pain in the ass, you may be a candidate to try topical first.
Mm-hmm.
All right, brother? I don't know if I would put anything else into. First of all, you have a general sense of anxiety over putting something in, taking something orally, which I understand given your experience.
That was the worst experience of my life. I literally, I've struggled with depression for years now, and a lot of it has to do with hair loss that I can't get out of my mind, even though it's not as severe as other people. But like that experience with finasteride really just. I thought it was all over. I really, those guys in the PFS, talking about suicide and all this. I really experienced, what they go through. Even though it wasn't, I guess, full blown PFS, but not being able to get a hard on for a few weeks is really,
I think about there are countless women out there that are suffering long term adverse effects from just taking hormonal birth control that no one talks about. And that they've been able to find causal effects. Like, we know this drug causes this. And, You never hear that being spoken about. It's not something that's really out there online and in the news and stuff like that. And all of the people that are taking SSRIs that are having the exact same issues, and some of them are permanent. Why, we don't know. I don't know why that's not talked about. It's a relatively small percentage of people that take finasteride, but I believe that those people are real, and I believe that they're really suffering. And I also think it's coupled with the mass hysteria effect, or the placebo or nocebo effect, I guess it's called.
Nocebo.
Yeah. And there are people who they take one pill and they think it caused them to be impotent. I don't know if that's possible, but usually it would take a while to be in your system. Like in your case, it took about a week. But those examples exist. But in your case, and if you're my brother, this is what I would tell you. If you really want to save your hair, you've already had this bad experience taking oral finasteride, I probably that would not be my first choice to get back on meds. My first choice would be to try a topical finasteride solution and see how you do. And talk to your doctor about that even before you get on topical. Tell them about your prior experiences. And, have a conversation with whoever you get the prescription from. And that's the direction I would go in if I were to give another chance to medication, or consider shaving your head.
Yeah, I don't think I'm at that point. I think I still got a few years of hair, at least decently looking.
All right. Well, listen, brother, we're going to call it a night. You're our last caller. I wish you the best of luck. I think you're still in a pretty good position, and just hang in there. Let us know. Feel free to call us back. Let us know what you decide to do.
Yep. Yeah, man, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you guys on the show, and it's a lot of good info. I really appreciate it.
All right, man. Good luck. Take care.
Yeah, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Websites. If you go to Hair Transplant Channel, that's youtube.com/Hair Transplant Mentor. You would see a list of all the websites in the, what is it called, Joe? The description. In the description.
Yes.
And guys who are listening to this podcast, if you want to watch the show, if you want to enjoy the live broadcast, we are currently only streaming it on Joe's page, which is also on thebaldtruth.com. But go to Joe's YouTube channel, again, youtube.com/Hair Transplant Mentor. Subscribe, ring the bell, like the show, and until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you all so much for listening. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid.